the sharing of knowledge, like it's just antiquated. It's really kind of textbook, pull open a P sheet, look through a book, go to a class, like physically go to a class. There's no real virtual training available. And if it is, it's really inaccessible. You got to find it through websites, like buried in things, through manufacturers, and there's just not this like easy, accessible place to find all your solutions. I mean, yes, you can go on YouTube, but that's a wild card for sure, because you might get some random person in their personal garage sharing information with very little experience. They just decided, they were going to give it a shot. So I think having vetted information that comes from quality sourced, people and sources, there's just a gap. We just don't have it. It's just not easy to find information. And if you have a quick question, like the best thing you can do is like call your paint rep and hope that they're not in the middle of something, and then you have to wait. But no one has time to wait. Like if you're in the paint booth and you have a real issue, you can't wait 4 hours to figure that out. Like you have to find a way to figure it out. So you're left to either calling your friends, calling other people that do similar jobs, or like giving it a shot, like just winging it and hoping for the best. So if there was a place where you could just get information quickly, the industry needs to step up in that regard. Like we need more information fast. There's a huge value in what we're trying to accomplish here. A lot of the things I learned were through really stupid mistakes, and cost me time and like a little bit of pride and all sorts of stuff. So I think it goes with that, like how do we pass knowledge on, and even more so, like the industry is filled with people that are really knowledgeable and older and have so much to provide, but they're on the other side of the hill. They're leaving soon, likely to retire. So like there's just so much knowledge out there. If we could provide it quickly and give access to like some of the simple things to like save you, a re-repair or doing something the wrong way and like having it bite you a year later when you have a comeback. There's nothing worse than having your boss come in and be like, oh, we got to come back, you got to fix this. So why is Refinish Academy important? It's important to me, and I think to a lot of my colleagues, because information needs to be quick, easy, and accessible. And in the current state of the collision industry, there is information out there, tons of it actually, but there's typically a cost of entry, and it's usually in more formal settings where you're attending training after work. And for many painters, body techs, preppers, that's just inefficient. We live in a world now where if you don't know something, you can Google it. So really our hope with this whole project is to be able to provide information quickly to all members of the collision industry. That way, if you have a question about something, regardless of what it is, chances are we've come across it. And our goal is to really share what we know and what all of you know in one kind of cataloged resource library that you guys can have access to right at the click of your phone or on your laptop. I do a lot of work with the vocational schools in the Northeast, and I sit on a lot of advisory board committees, and I try to like give back in that part of the industry. And I've found that a lot of kids, there's definitely a cost of entry. Tools are expensive. It's definitely not cheap to do this. And I think too, like, I know this is like, I'm stereotyping a whole generation here when I say this, but I think we're in a world where things just happen so quickly, and a lot of kind of becoming the painter in the shop and like escalating. They want it now, and the patience, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's there. So I think that's where what we're doing here will probably help that, because you can get information that much faster. For sure, I think combined experience just through all walks, right? I think everyone in this group, we've all come from like a different path and different experiences, even, different coasts of the country. Like just being here in California, like you guys do some whack stuff here and like temperature changes and like climate's just different. There's like a lot to adjust. I definitely felt a little bit like out of my element, like coming here being like, there's nothing I use here. But that's important to know. Technicians move, right? Like opportunities happen and you move to a new climate, or heck, global warming, right? Like maybe that'll be a thing, I don't know, but I think it's important. And I just think that there's all those little nuances to the job that like formal training doesn't necessarily go over. A lot of training, they're kind of held back by big corporate companies, and they have to spend like 2 hours on, protection and PPE, which, yeah, that's important, but like, what about like how to fix a color when it goes to, or how to get yourself out of a jam? Like, those are the little things that I think we can share quickly and hopefully help people out in the field. Yeah, I think just having that community space where we can share information from all different places, because different places experience different things, and there's just a lot. There are so many variables to this industry, unlike any other industry out there, right? Like, just because a car is red doesn't mean that it's, it could be bluer, greener. Like, there's all sorts of things. The car might be 10 years old and faded, or the parts might be, aftermarket and they don't fit and you're struggling with that. And there's also, other components, like financial components to the business that you have to think through, profitability and efficiency, and are you doing the job in the time allotted for it or under? And if you're taking too long, you've lost the job. There's just a lot to consider. And hopefully we can kind of convey some of those like road mapping skills for technicians. That way they can think through the whole repair and think through, the whole job, and how they can be as efficient as possible. Because in the end, it's going to be easier for them. It's going to create a more streamlined process, less headaches, and it just makes the whole work stream flow. I think we're just seeing a total shift in the industry where, it used to be, and it still is craftsmanship, but I think the lean is more in that manufacturing space, where the attempt of collision shops now are to replicate a manufacturing facility. And at the end of the day, like, that's really what you're doing, is like you're producing a widget, like you're putting it through the system, and one little thing can hiccup the whole process, and then everything goes to hell. So if you can think through it in that manufacturing light and kind of take that approach to it, it just streamlines everything. I mean, granted, again, there are tons of variables. There are going to be curveballs, but the more you can do in process improvement, the better experience your customers are going to have, your insurance companies, like everyone involved, the parts vendors, like everyone that works in the team. It's just going to be a more pleasant experience for everybody. I think, that goes to, like, you can't just stay in your bay. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a body tech, if you're, reassembly, disassembly, like painter, prepper, production manager, whoever you are. I think it's important to look at, like, what car is going to come to you next? What are you working on now? And is the person next to you ready to take it? So, like, wherever you are in the process, like if you're the painter, like, what's the prepper working on? What do I have coming in? Like, I know I'm going to paint this now, but like, what's coming in the next hour or two? And then beyond that, like, is reassembly ready? When I'm done painting this, like, can I move this over to reassembly? And then, for reassembly techs, like, okay, what's coming? Do we have everything we need? Like, it's about thinking globally and thinking through, like, what's ahead of you, what's behind you, and do you have everything you need before you start getting to work? It's teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. It's so cliche, but it's true. I think having a great culture in your shop, really working as a team, and taking ownership, taking accountability for things. Things happen, things go wrong, and that's just part of the job. It's part of the industry. But in order to produce like a really quality vehicle, a really quality repair, it requires a lot of people. From the person sweeping the floors to the person writing the estimate to the person painting the car. Everyone has this really important piece in the process, and together you're able to produce a really, fantastic repair that looks like you were never there. It's getting leaner and leaner. With the work that I do at vocational schools, a lot of those kids are kind of using that vocation as a coasting. They know that like they get to watch paint dry and sit on their cell phones and like not really get into it. So like, I think the passion, even just going to car shows, like I'm usually the youngest person there, if not like maybe two other people, right? Like there's just not that many younger people with that fascination and passion. And cars are different too. Like, I mean, it's fuel injected, it's not carbureted. I remember working on like an 84 Cutlass, and it's carbureted and, like awesome and fun. And it was more mechanical. Now it's really digital. And I think that whole concept, I mean, I think for some it is actually kind of fascinating because there is so much technology in vehicles now. and they are equipped to pretty much drive themselves. So what used to be a really mechanical trade has kind of shifted into this high tech. There are more lines of code in a car now than there are like on a jet going to the moon, right? It's just wild, the stuff that's in a car right now. So I just have found that the interest level in youth, it's varied. And I think it perhaps could be frustrating too for like younger people getting into the industry, because there aren't that many people of their age group in it. I know for myself, like as a female, I mean, not to, I don't know if that's even something you want to go into, but like as a female, I don't think I really worked. It wasn't until I went to the paint manufacturer that I ever worked with a woman. And there was like two. It wasn't like there was like a lot. And to that point also, it was me and a sea full of like 50-year-old white-haired dudes. Like, and that's just the reality of the industry. There's just not that much diversity, like in terms of generational, like youth. But I just liked cars enough that that didn't bother me. But I didn't work with anyone in my age group, so it wasn't like working with young kids. I don't think that people realize like how much opportunity is in this industry. You don't have to be a painter even. You can work for a manufacturer, you can work for a tool company, you can work for the compressor company. Like there's all these subsects of the business. You can be an estimator, really clean job, and it's a career. It's not like working at, you know, a grocery store bagging groceries. Like there is this really cool web of direction that you can go in once you get into the field. And it certainly doesn't need to be, you know, covered in grease or covered in paint. You can be anything you really want. And to that point, there's all these people aging out and retiring out of the business. So in the next 10, 15 years, we're going to see all of these people retiring. There's going to be this need to backfill those positions. And, you know, with incomes north of 100,000, you know, like six-figure incomes are possible in this industry, and it's a great field.